Clarissa, you will marry Caleb Liang by the end of the summer. We've spoken to his parents." The words struck like a thunderclap, shattering the delicate quiet of the Whitford family's dining room. Clarissa's mother, Adele Whitford, held her posture stiff and resolute, her chin lifted as though warding off any protest. Across the table, Clarissa's fork slipped from her fingers and clattered against her half-eaten dinner. Her father, Randall Whitford, cleared his throat, clearly uncomfortable but offering no rebuttal to his wife's proclamation. "Wait, what?" Clarissa managed, her voice higher than usual, laced with disbelief. "Mom, Dad, this is the 21st century. You can't just arrange my marriage like some business merger." Adele's expression softened, but her tone remained firm. "I know it sounds old-fashioned, dear, but you must understand that we Whitfords have always maintained strong ties with the Liangs. Our finances are strained, and the Liangs have come forward to invest in your father's manufacturing business on one condition." Randall exhaled, his shoulders sagging under the weight of guilt. "I'm sorry, Pumpkin. We wanted to spare you this, but you know how dire the situation has become. The bank is close to calling in our loans, and without the Liang's infusion, we could lose everything." Caleb's father offered a deal. Tying the families together in marriage is a tradition they believe in. Clarissa felt heat surge behind her eyes, a toxic mix of anger, betrayal, and panic. She was 24, had just finished her master's degree, and had lined up job interviews in the city to jumpstart her product design career. Marriage, especially to a near stranger, was not on the agenda. "That's absurd," she said, shoving her chair back. "I barely know Caleb beyond a few family gatherings when we were kids." Her mother pressed her lips together. "Honey, I realize it's sudden. But Caleb is educated, successful. He leads a small startup in biomedical engineering. He's from a respected family. Please, at least meet him for dinner tomorrow. Give it a chance." Clarissa locked eyes with her father, hoping for some sign of rescue, but he looked down at the table, his fingers tracing the edge of his napkin. Her parents were under so much financial strain, they probably believed this was the only solution. "I'm sorry," she said, voice trembling, "but I won't go along with this." Without waiting for an answer, Clarissa spun on her heel, marched out of the dining room, and grabbed her keys from the foyer table. She stormed to her car, tears pricking the corners of her eyes. How could they do this to her? She drove aimlessly into the city, the glow of skyscrapers filtering through the windshield. Her heart pounded in a swirl of anger and desperation. If she could only prove to her parents that she was capable of managing her own life, maybe they'd relent. But how? Eventually, she parked near Lakeshore Avenue, home to a string of late-night cafes. Entering a small coffee shop with warm, amber lighting, Clarissa ordered a cappuccino and sank into a corner table, trying to compose herself. She was so absorbed in her troubled thoughts that she barely noticed someone approach. A tall man in a black sport coat, crisp white shirt, and gray slacks slid into the chair across from her. Before Clarissa could protest, he leaned forward and spoke in a low, urgent tone. "Sorry to be so direct, but I need a favor," he said. His dark eyes flicked toward the door. "My ex just walked in. We had a messy breakup, and I'd rather not deal with the scene right now. Do you mind pretending to be my date, just until she leaves?" Clarissa stared, momentarily forgetting her own crisis. "Excuse me?" He flashed a wry, apologetic smile. "It's ridiculous, I know. But I saw you sitting alone, and you looked nice. I'm just trying to avoid a meltdown if she spots me. 2 minutes, tops." She glanced over his shoulder at a stylish brunette scanning the cafe. Indeed, the woman's sharp gaze landed on them. Clarissa felt her face grow hot. Normally she'd refuse, but tonight she was too drained for rational thinking. Also, something in this man's expression, earnest and slightly panicked, made her want to help. "All right," Clarissa relented. "I'll play along." He shot her a grateful look and reached across the table, lightly taking her hand. The brunette paused in her search, locked eyes with them, and her face fell. She pivoted and headed back out the door in a huff. A breath of relief left the man's lips. "Wow, thank you," he said, releasing Clarissa's hand. "I'm Adam, by the way." "Clarissa," she said, still bewildered, "you owe me an explanation. That was the strangest introduction I've ever experienced." He chuckled, a hint of embarrassment coloring his cheeks. "I ended an engagement recently. She hasn't taken it well. I do apologize for dragging you into that." Clarissa shrugged, thinking wryly how this bizarre encounter was at least more interesting than her own personal meltdown. "No worries. I could use the distraction." They ended up talking for nearly an hour, sharing truncated life stories. Adam was in the corporate world, managing a portfolio of high-tech ventures, though he glossed over details. Clarissa mentioned her design background, her job hunt, and her family's tradition-minded ways, but omitted the arranged marriage bombshell. As the cafe approached closing time, Adam paid for her cappuccino as a thank you, then asked if they could exchange numbers. "I owe you a favor," he said lightly, "and maybe I can return it someday." An idea flickered in Clarissa's mind, one that made her heart hammer. She was desperate to escape her parents' scheme. If she could just show them she was in a committed relationship of her own choice, maybe they'd back off. It was ridiculous, but she slipped her phone from her purse, ignoring the swirl of uncertainty in her stomach. "All right," she murmured, exchanging contact info. As she stepped back into the crisp night air, Clarissa mulled over the improbable plan. She could pretend Adam was her serious boyfriend. Of course, she didn't know anything about him, other than that he was obviously quick on his feet, good-looking, and apparently had some complicated personal drama. "It's insane," she muttered to herself. But then again, so was an arranged marriage. That night, tossing and turning in her bed, Clarissa weighed her options. Let her parents force her into a union she didn't want, or hatch a plan with a stranger to keep her family at bay. Both had their risks. Yet the second choice offered at least a glimmer of autonomy. She decided to take the gamble. 3 days later, Clarissa sat in the plush lobby of a towering office building downtown. The floor-to-ceiling glass windows offered a panoramic view of the city. She was there for a pivotal job interview at Ventura Technologies, one of the leading innovators in sustainable product design. Landing a position here was her dream. Clutching her portfolio, Clarissa tried to steady her nerves. She'd spent hours preparing examples of her design projects from graduate school. Everything from eco-friendly packaging prototypes to interactive user interfaces. She needed this job not only for her personal aspirations but also to prove to her parents that she could stand on her own. Her phone vibrated. A text from her mother. "Mom, dinner with Caleb in 2 days. Please don't be late." Clarissa's stomach churned. She typed a quick reply claiming she was busy, then forced herself to refocus on the upcoming interview. At precisely 9 o'clock, a friendly receptionist escorted her to a stylish conference room. A middle-aged man, Mr. Simmons, greeted her with a warm handshake. "Thanks for coming in, Ms. Whitford. We've been impressed by your portfolio." Clarissa's tension eased slightly. They talked about her design philosophy, her future goals, and how she believes sustainability could be profitably integrated into modern consumer products. Everything was flowing smoothly until Mr. Simmons' phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, then rose apologetically. "I'm sorry," he said, a bit flustered. "The CEO just called for a quick department meeting. Let me step out and see what's going on." She nodded, waiting patiently. Her gaze drifted around the conference room's minimalist decor, clean lines, glass walls, a handful of potted succulents. In her mind, she replayed the interview so far, hoping she'd made a good impression. 20 minutes later, Mr. Simmons returned with a polite smile. "The CEO would like to meet you personally. We've been trying a new approach where top executives occasionally drop in on promising candidates." Clarissa's heart fluttered with both excitement and nerves. An unexpected conversation with the CEO. This could be her chance to stand out, or to flop. She followed Mr. Simmons down a sleek corridor to an executive suite. The large office boasted modern furniture, abstract art, and floor-to-ceiling windows that bathed the space in natural light. Mr. Simmons knocked politely before opening the door. "Sir, this is Clarissa Whitford," he announced. Turning from the window, the CEO offered a polite nod, but froze halfway through when his gaze landed on her. Clarissa's breath caught in her throat. It was Adam. He masked his surprise quickly, but for a split second, his features registered shock. Clarissa felt a rush of heat in her cheeks, equally stunned. The man who had begged her to be his pretend date in a coffee shop was the CEO of Ventura Technologies. He cleared his throat, extending a hand. "A pleasure to meet you, Miss Whitford," he said, his voice calm, though his eyes flickered with recognition. "I'm Adam Moore, CEO of Ventura Technologies." Clarissa forced a professional smile, shaking his hand. "Nice to meet you," she replied, carefully avoiding any sign of familiarity. Mr. Simmons discreetly bowed out, leaving them alone. The door clicked shut, and an odd silence lingered until Adam spoke again. "This is quite a coincidence," he said, motioning for her to sit in one of the modern chairs arranged near a small glass coffee table. "When I saw the name Whitford on our shortlist, I had no idea it was you." Clarissa smoothed her skirt. Nor did I realize you were the CEO of the company I was applying to. You never mentioned that in the cafe." A wry grin tugged at his lips. "Yes, well, I don't typically lead with my title when asking a stranger to protect me from my ex." She felt a strange mixture of amusement and anxiety. "So this interview?" Adam leaned forward, resting his forearms on his knees. "I've reviewed your portfolio. Your skill set is impressive, and you'd be an asset to our design team." His tone was measured, professional. "I want to assure you that our personal encounter won't affect the fairness of this hiring process. If you're the right fit, you get the job, simple as that." Clarissa nodded, gratitude and cautious hope warring within her. "Thank you. That's all I can ask for." He studied her for a moment. "You seem tense, though. Everything okay?" She exhaled, contemplating how to answer. Part of her wanted to blurt out the entire story, her parents' arrangement, her plan to present him as her fake boyfriend, but that seemed absurd, especially in a professional setting. Still, she recalled his text from a couple of days ago, checking in to see if she was all right. She had given a vague response that she was busy. In the end, Clarissa decided to keep it short. "Family drama. Nothing you need to worry about." He nodded, but the expression in his eyes hinted that he remembered their last conversation, when she'd teased that she might need a favor in return. "Understood," he said, standing. "Well, we'll wrap up the formalities with HR. You should hear back in a week at most. Good luck." She thanked him, returning to the lobby with her heart hammering. The entire morning felt surreal. Of all the people in the world, she had roped the CEO of her dream company into a half-baked scheme, and now, if she got the job, she'd see him every day in a professional capacity. Days passed. Clarissa's parents continued to pressure her about dinner with Caleb, a meeting she kept postponing. Finally, the call she'd been waiting for came from Ventura's HR department. She'd landed the product designer position. She could hardly contain her excitement. This was a huge step toward her career goals and her independence from her family's meddling. But the victory was bittersweet. It placed her in a complicated dynamic with Adam. She hadn't yet explained to him that she might use his name to ward off an unwanted fiancé. Would it jeopardize her new job if her personal life tangled too closely with her CEO's? She decided she had no choice but to try. That evening, she sent Adam a text. "Clarissa, we need to talk. It's about that favor I mentioned. Can we meet somewhere private?" His reply was quick. "Adam, sure. I know a discreet wine bar near the office. Tomorrow evening?" Her stomach fluttered with nerves. She was about to propose to her boss, a man she barely knew, some sort of elaborate lie to rescue her from an arranged marriage. Turning point 1 was set in motion. The next evening found them in a candlelit wine bar just a few blocks from Ventura Technologies. It had an intimate, modern vibe, with sleek couches and minimalist decor. Adam was already seated in a curved booth when Clarissa arrived, scanning the menu. He stood as she approached, offering a courteous nod. "You look anxious," he said softly, beckoning her to sit. "That obvious." She tried to laugh, but it came out shaky. Once she settled, they ordered drinks. He chose a glass of Merlot, and she opted for a Chardonnay. For a moment, she simply stared at her hands, uncertain how to begin. Adam finally broke the silence. "So, about that favor?" Clarissa sighed, launching into an abridged version of her predicament. "My parents are forcing me into an arranged marriage with Caleb Liang. My father's business is on the brink of collapse, and the Liangs are offering an investment if I marry their son. They even scheduled a dinner with him. I tried resisting, but they won't listen." Adam's eyebrows rose in disbelief. "You're serious? That's archaic." She nodded. "I know. But we're talking about a major financial crisis for my family. They're desperate. I told them I'm dating someone else, hoping they'd call it off. The problem is they want to meet him." She let the meaning sink in, watching Adam's expression shift from confusion to realization. "Wait," he said slowly. "You told them I was your boyfriend?" Clarissa winced, her cheeks burning. "Not by name, exactly, but I implied I'm seeing someone. If I show up alone, my parents won't believe me. They'll keep pushing this engagement with Caleb." Adam leaned back against the booth, exhaling. "And you want me to stand in, pretend we're a couple?" She gazed at him with pleading eyes. "I know it's a huge favor, and it's messy, especially now that you're my boss. But I'm out of options. If you say no, I'll understand. It's not your responsibility." He was quiet for a while, sipping his wine. She braced herself for a refusal. What sane person would agree to such a ruse? You did bail me out of an awkward situation with my ex, he said at last. A faint smile touched his lips. I guess I owe you one, but let's be clear, this would be short-term only, right? Just enough to convince your parents. Relief flooded Clarissa. Yes, long enough for them to realize I'm not going through with their plan. After that, I can handle the fallout. Adam rubbed his chin. And what if your father's business still needs rescuing? Won't your parents push the issue again? Clarissa swallowed. I don't know. I'll cross that bridge later. Right now, I just need them to believe I'm in a serious relationship. Maybe they'll let me live my own life. All right, Adam said, nodding. But let's be smart about this. We'll set a time to meet your folks. We'll come up with a coherent backstory. In the meantime, we keep our professional relationship at work strictly business. No mix-ups. She couldn't believe he was agreeing. A wave of gratitude surged through her. Deal. Thank you, Adam. I'm sorry to drag you into my family drama. He waved off her apology with a small grin. I guess we're even now. They spent the next half-hour brainstorming. They settled on a meet-cute story, friends from a local tech conference who'd started dating months ago. They hammered out small details, how often they see each other, inside jokes, favorite hangouts. It felt surreal, fabricating a romance while sharing the booth of a dimly lit bar. After they parted, Clarissa's adrenaline still buzzed. She was relieved but also aware that she was stepping onto a tightrope of deception. One misstep, and the facade could crumble, jeopardizing her job and possibly Adam's reputation. The following Saturday, Clarissa's parents organized a small dinner at their house, initially intended for Caleb's introduction, but now repurposed to meet Adam. The living room was immaculate. Fresh flowers, polished wooden floors, and the comforting aroma of roasted chicken. Clarissa arrived with Adam in tow. Her mother, Adele, greeted them at the door, eyes wary. "Hello, dear," she said, then turned to Adam with a polite but measured smile. "And you must be." He extended his hand confidently. "Adam Moore, Mom." Her father, Randall, stood by the couch. He looked older than his years, stress etching lines into his face. "Well," he said after a tense pause, "come in, both of you." The evening began with stilted small talk. Adele asked Adam about his work, and he described it vaguely, never once mentioning he was a CEO. He just said he was in management at tech firm. Clarissa felt a flicker of gratitude for his discretion. Over dinner, her parents couldn't hide their concern. "Clarissa," Adele said at last, "we told you about the arrangement with the Leong family. We understand you have someone else now, but this relationship is new to us. Are you absolutely sure?" Clarissa took a breath, squeezing Adam's hand under the table for reassurance. "I'm sure, Mom. I'm serious about Adam. Please trust me." Adam cleared his throat, adopting a respectful tone. "Mr. and Mrs. Whitford, I realize this is sudden, but Clarissa and I have been seeing each other for a while. I respect your family's traditions, but I care about your daughter and want the chance to support her in whatever she does." Adele and Randall exchanged uncertain glances. Finally, Randall said, "We need time to process this. The Liangs have been extremely generous, and you know how much our company depends on their investment, Clarissa." A jolt of guilt stabbed Clarissa. She knew the stakes were higher than just her personal freedom. Her father's livelihood was on the line. The dinner ended without a definitive resolution, leaving everyone uneasy. As Adam helped Clarissa with her coat by the front door, she whispered, "Thanks again. I'm sorry my parents are so formal." He gave her a reassuring nod. "No worries. They're just concerned for their family's future." Little did either of them know that the next confrontation would arrive sooner than expected, and it would be far more intense. Less than a week after the dinner, Clarissa's phone buzzed while she was at work. She glanced at the screen, an unknown number. With a quick apology to her teammates, she stepped away from her desk. "Hello?" A curt male voice answered. "Clarissa Whitford? This is Caleb Leong. We need to talk." Her heart skipped a beat. "Caleb? How did you get my number?" "We move in the same circles, don't we? Listen, I'd like to meet tonight if possible. There's a gala at the Greenbridge Hotel. My family will be there, so bring your boyfriend." His tone dripped with disbelief. Clarissa swallowed. "I don't think that's a good idea." "Too bad," Caleb snapped. "Your father's business depends on our support. Don't make this more complicated. See you at 8. He hung up. Clarissa stared at her phone, hands trembling. She had never known Caleb to be so confrontational. Perhaps his parents' push for this marriage had soured his attitude. That afternoon she found Adam in his office. Though employees rarely barged in to speak with the CEO, he told her she could approach him privately if it was urgent. He stood behind his desk, a city skyline glinting through the windows behind him, as she explained the call from Caleb. Adam's brow furrowed. "So he expects us at this gala?" "Yes," Clarissa said, arms folded. "He basically demanded we show up or else. It's obviously a showdown." Adam sighed. "We'll go. We need to face him head on. If we skip it, your parents might worry we're not serious." That evening, Clarissa and Adam arrived at the Green Bridge Hotel. The lobby buzzed with elegant guests dressed in formal attire, an array of corporate sponsors, and philanthropic organizations hosting a charity auction. Lights glistened off the marble floors, and the distant hum of live piano music floated from the ballroom. They spotted Caleb almost immediately, standing near a tall floral arrangement, wearing a tailored tuxedo. His gaze was intense as he strode over, barely acknowledging Adam before addressing Clarissa directly. "I see you brought your date," he said, forcing a tight smile. "Shall we step aside to talk?" Adam intervened calmly. "Anything you have to say to Clarissa you can say in front of me." Caleb's jaw clenched, but he nodded curtly. "Fine. Clarissa, this arrangement has been in the works for months. Our parents believe we'd be a perfect match, both from reputable families. Yet here you are, humiliating me by claiming you found someone else." Clarissa lifted her chin. "I'm sorry it's come to this, but I won't marry someone I don't love. My parents never asked how I felt about this arrangement. Neither did yours." Caleb shot Adam a contemptuous look. "So, you're the man who swooped in at the last moment. What makes you think you can replace our family's long-standing plans?" Adam maintained a level gaze. "Because Clarissa deserves a choice." A tense silence followed, the sounds of clinking glasses and distant chatter muted by the intensity of the confrontation. Caleb exhaled sharply. "You realize my family might withdraw their financial support for Whitford Manufacturing. Your father's livelihood is on the line." Clarissa felt her stomach twist. "I'm aware," she whispered, tears threatening to form. "But forcing me into marriage isn't the solution." Suddenly, a new voice cut through the tension. "Don't blame my daughter for wanting to live her own life." Clarissa spun around to see her father, Randall, standing behind them. His face was pale but determined. "Dad, what are you doing here?" He stepped forward, nodding a greeting to Caleb. "I know you're here with your parents, son. I came to speak to them, to let them know that I can't hold Clarissa responsible for a deal that should have never been hinged on marriage in the first place." Caleb's cheeks reddened, and he glanced away, clearly frustrated. Randall turned to Clarissa, eyes filled with regret. "Pumpkin, I'm sorry. We did this out of desperation, but it wasn't fair to you." Emotion thickened Clarissa's throat. "Dad, I thank you." Adam gently placed a hand on her back, offering silent reassurance. Randall shifted his gaze to Adam. "Sir, I don't know who you really are, but if Clarissa trusts you, then so be it." Adam hesitated, then extended his hand. "Adam Moore, I." Before he could finish, a voice boomed from across the hall. "Moore? As in CEO of Ventura Technologies?" All eyes turned to see a middle-aged man in a sharp suit, Caleb's father, Robert Leon, approaching with a stunned expression. Behind him, Caleb seemed equally surprised. Randall's mouth fell open slightly. "CEO," he echoed, turning to Clarissa in confusion. Clarissa felt her cheeks flare. "Dad, I was going to tell you eventually." Robert Leon shook Adam's hand, though his smile was strained. "I never expected the famous Adam Moore to be here, nor did I suspect you were the man challenging our family's arrangement." Caleb's eyes flickered with disbelief. "So you're the Adam Moore. Why would you meddle in this situation?" Adam squared his shoulders. "I'm not meddling. I care about Clarissa. We started seeing each other well before you tried to finalize this arrangement." Robert Leon's features hardened, but he nodded. "I see. Well, business is business, Mr. Moore. This personal entanglement doesn't directly affect me, but I do hope you understand we had intentions that benefited both families. Now we'll have to reconsider our investment." Randall grimaced, stepping aside to speak quietly with Robert about possible alternatives. The tension in the air was thick as the older men drifted toward a corner, discussing the future of Whitford Manufacturing. Clarissa felt as if a massive weight had lifted, even though a fresh wave of uncertainty crashed in. Her father was stepping back from forcing her to marry Caleb. However, the entire arrangement might collapse, plunging the family business into jeopardy. She looked up at Adam, who gently brushed a strand of hair from her face. "Are you okay?" he asked softly. She nodded, eyes stinging with emotion. Thank you for being here. This is beyond anything I ever imagined." Caleb hovered for a moment, looking at Clarissa with a mixture of hurt and resignation. "I guess that's it, then," he murmured. "I'll talk to my parents, but don't expect them to be charitable after this blow to their pride." He turned on his heel and walked away. When her father returned, his face was drawn but resolute. "Robert says he'll speak to his financial team. He's not keen on continuing the investment, but we're exploring other avenues." "Dad," Clarissa said quietly, stepping closer. "I'm so sorry about all of this." Randall patted her shoulder. "It's not your fault, Pumpkin. We dragged you into a no-win situation. We'll manage, one way or another." Adam cleared his throat. "Mr. Whitford, if it comes to it, I might be able to connect you with some venture partners who are looking for manufacturing expansions. I can't promise anything, but perhaps we can find a business solution that doesn't involve tying Clarissa's future to a contract." Randall's eyes flickered with cautious hope. That would be beyond generous. The rest of the gala blurred in a haze of small talk and heavy hearts. But at least Clarissa was free from the immediate threat of forced marriage. As the event wound down, Adam took her aside. "Your father knows who I am now," he said softly. "And your mother, too. This means our ruse has probably served its purpose." Clarissa searched his face. "So we can drop the act." For a moment, Adam hesitated. "That's the question, isn't it?" His tone was gentle. "Is it still an act?" Her breath caught in her throat. She realized that over the past few weeks, through shared secrets, supporting each other, and glimpsing his genuine kindness, she'd begun to have real feelings for him. I'm not sure anymore," she admitted, voice trembling. "We started this to keep my parents off my back, but you've been so genuine. It's like I want it to be real." His eyes softened. "So do I." He reached for her hand and Clarissa let him intertwine their fingers. In that moment they stood at the edge of possibility, no longer forced together by necessity, but drawn by something far more profound. In the weeks that followed, much changed. Robert Liang withdrew most of his financial backing, but with Adam's network of business partners, Randall Whitford found a new investor for his manufacturing plant, one that didn't require bartering his daughter's future. Though it wasn't an immediate fix, it was hope. Clarissa settled into her role at Ventura Technologies. She thrived on the design team, her creativity shining through in every presentation. While the office buzzed with gossip about their CEO being seen with a new hire outside of work, Adam and Clarissa navigated it cautiously, keeping the professional boundaries firm during office hours, yet allowing their personal bond to grow after hours. They faced challenges. Adam's ex-fiancée, the one who had first sparked their pretend date fiasco, tried to stir drama. Caleb harbored bitterness that occasionally found its way into social circles. But in each instance, Clarissa and Adam confronted the turmoil with honesty, knowing their partnership was built on something real now. One late evening, after a whirlwind of product demos and investor meetings, Adam invited Clarissa up to the rooftop garden of the Ventura Technologies building. The city skyline sparkled in the distance, and a gentle breeze swept past them. "Remember when I first saw you alone in that cafe?" Adam mused. "I was just trying to avoid a scene, never expecting you'd become such an important part of my life." Clarissa laughed softly, leaning against the railing. "Well, I was trying to escape an arranged marriage. Maybe we were both running from something." He slipped his arm around her waist, pulling her close. "Not anymore," he whispered. They stood together, gazing at the vast expanse of lights. Their journey began with a lie but evolved into a truth neither had dared to hope for. Clarissa felt grateful. Somehow, out of chaos, she found a path toward both personal freedom and genuine love. "Thank you for reading To Avoid an Arranged Marriage." She pretended to be the girlfriend of a stranger, only to discover he was the millionaire CEO of the company she applied to. We hope this story warmed your heart and kept you turning pages. If you enjoyed this tale, subscribe to Soul-Stirring Stories to discover more emotional, captivating narratives that celebrate love, hope, and the human spirit. Your support enables us to continue sharing stories that touch hearts around the world. Join Soul-Stirring Stories today and never miss another moving journey.